spent most summers at Tybee when I was young. I could spend most of the summer without wearing shoes, which was great, and it was just a great place to grow up in the summers. I did go off to camp one summer in North Carolina and said, you know, why am I going off here when I can be back at Tybee? At Tybee we could fish, we could shrimp, we could surf, we could ski in the back river. It was a great way to spend the summers. And then I guess when I probably got 14, 15, somewhere in there, it was time to do summer jobs, and we would, I worked at the Ford dealership. Probably the first year was when I was about 14. Dad was always my mentor in a lot of respects, but he always, you know, taught us virtues, integrity, honesty, be good to your fellow human beings and help those who need help, especially those who are less fortunate, that kind of thing. So, you know, we went to church every Sunday. We tried to live our lives in the way that the good Lord would have us live those lives.
15 years ago, the good Lord called Curtis and the folks at his church, First Baptist, into the slums of Cuba.
In about 1990, I think the Soviet Union pulled all of its money out of Cuba, and people fell upon truly desperate times. You would see people walking around on the street with just their ribs showing. They didn't have enough to eat.
The American embargo was in full force. There were no diplomatic relations. Communist Cuba was beyond the reach of America's protective hand. If you went there, you were on your own.
This man flies to Cuba. He's never talked about we need to repeal the embargo. He's never gotten into the political arena. He just does it.
The embargo meant that critical supplies couldn't get to the Cuban people. Sometimes those supplies were life-giving, as in the case of a little girl living in a village called Sancti Spiritus.
We met a young girl named Dianita who had just enormous physical, psychological, learning disabilities, everything you can imagine. And she had a condition where her body did not produce any cholesterol. And without a prescription medication supplement, she would die. And twice a year for at least 10 years or more, he helped take that medicine to this girl and literally kept her alive for all of those years.
Stephen Covey wrote that the key to the 99 is the one. It's the love and the discipline of the one student, the one child, that communicates love for the others. It's how you treat the one that reveals how you regard the 99, because everyone is ultimately a one. Curtis never wavered. He took medicine to Dianita for the rest of her life.
This is where it gets worse, having nobody to talk to. And then I just finally gave up. I was sitting on a park bench in Charleston, and a friend of mine came along. He said, "Are you all right?" I said, "No, I think I'm going to do it tonight."
Glenn was a one, too, who landed in Savannah, where he was rescued from his desperation by Union Mission.
Union Mission, of course, is the homeless continuum, where people who declare their desire to not be homeless are provided with housing and temporary shelter, transitional shelter, job training, counseling, and education. The Lewis family has been the core supporters of that effort, and Curtis picked up right where his father left off.
He just wants to do what's right. He wants to make sure that people that might not have a chance have a chance.
Memorial Health is on track to lose about $30 million this year.
It was a business decision made by our board.
Major cutbacks, including 2 recent rounds of employee layoffs.
About a half dozen years ago, Memorial Health, one of the pillars of Savannah's foundation, fell on hard times.
Memorial had been losing money for several years, 5 actually. Cash was being depleted. There was issues with our bond covenants. Morale was, I would say, at an all-time low. There was discord among the physicians.
In the very difficult years that began with the recession, much of what Memorial did was moving into a very risky state. The ability for our communities to sustain it was being called into question.
As incoming chair of Memorial's board, Curtis felt a responsibility to the community.
We take care of everybody that walks in the door or is wheeled through the door, and it's a good thing.
It was in the fire of the hospital's operational crisis that Lewis's leadership came to the fore.
He was the collaborative force that brought together the management, his board, the board of the hospital authority, and the Chatham County Commission. And of course, that's when he tapped into those years of building goodwill with a lot of people. And he was the credible leader that convinced our political leadership, together with our hospital authority, to refinance Memorial.
It's complex and it's difficult to understand even for those of us involved in business and finance. But Curtis understood. More importantly, the community leaders trusted and understood that Curtis's interests were the people of Savannah, Chatham County, and coastal Georgia.
Leading from the rear. And when I use that phrase, leading from the rear, that's a person who, it doesn't matter who gets the credit if the job gets done. And I saw him doing that. It's like the conductor of an orchestra. He doesn't know how to play all the instruments, but know when they're off tune. And Curtis had an innate ability to conduct that orchestra, knowing when things were going astray, pull things back.
He had that lawyer's ability to see issues, but he combined that with a sense of responsibility for the public good.
Progress came amazingly fast.
No rumors, there's no drama. It's just about the mission of the organization, being proud of the mission, and putting your nose down and getting the job done, and that's how we work together.
Under his leadership, Memorial's stability has returned, and the hospital is now positioned for a promising future.
We wouldn't even be at the table had it not been for the work that Curtis led for the hospital.
At bottom, Curtis Lewis is a car guy.
Been around cars all my life, so I like cars and fast cars.
And just in case there's any doubt in your mind,
I've practiced law, but I'm still happy to sell you a car or a truck, whatever you want.
Because of you, that this guy's following me around the whole time.
I suspect you'll have to ask him to sell your car, so unassuming is his manner.
This guy following me around.
I know. In fact, it took the twin irresistible forces of Mr. Jepson and Mr. Kreitz to convince him to accept induction into the Hall of Fame for the things he accomplished on his own merits as he grew the family's involvement in the community.
He hadn't had to do it. He probably could sit down and never lifted his finger, but it wasn't built into him.
Layla, wake up.
Curtis Lewis is a bulldog, a lawyer, a financial guy, a real estate guy, a television guy, and a guy with one thing over everybody else.
It takes more than just being smart, but that's a pretty darn good place to start.
But if you ask him what he's accomplished, you'll get a quick and easy answer.
My kids would be my proudest accomplishment for whatever credit I can take there.
For the Savannah community, having another generation of Lewises offers hope that the city will continue to have the kind of spirit of achievement and integrity that emanates from Curtis Lewis.
He's just an average guy. And that attribute, I think, is transformative. And when you're around him, you feel the spirit of a person who's willing to give, not only of his resources, but of himself.
Very community-oriented, church-oriented, people-oriented.
Because he really believes in the hospital, he believes in the mission, he believes that what we're doing is for the betterment of the community.
Even Democrats love Curtis Lewis.
When you're the same guy on Sunday morning and Friday night, that says a lot about a person.
He's a person that has an internal vision for Savannah. In his own quiet way, he puts his resources and the family resources behind those key things that move forward this county, this community, this town.
Quiet, soft-spoken, but when Curtis gives you an opinion and when Curtis gives you a thought, it is deeply respected by all who are in the room.
There may be a Ford dealership in Havana's future.
Curtis Lewis is a laureate in the Junior Achievement Savannah Business Hall of Fame.
That's the first time I've seen all that, and I thank you very much, and I'm actually speechless, so I think I'll just go sit down. Well, maybe not exactly. You know, it's amazing what nice things people say about you if you slip them a few dollars. So, boy, some of those guys laid it on pretty thick there. I don't know that I can take credit for a lot of that, but but they told me to KISS, keep it short, stupid. So, you know, this all got started, I guess it was in the summer. I don't know where Dale Kreitz is, but he calls me one day. He says, Curtis, Dale Sr., Bob Jepson and I want to come talk to you. And I said, well, Dale, let's talk right now. I got a few minutes. No, we need to come see you. So I said, okay, I'll see you next Tuesday or whatever it was. So I go home and tell Carol, Kreitz and Jepson want to come talk to me about something. I don't know what it is. First thing she says is, don't you go on another nonprofit board. Don't let them talk you into that. So ain't gonna happen. So here I am. Thanks to a lot of arm twisting, they came to my office and twisted my arm. And, you know, before they got there, I thought, why are they coming to see me? And I thought, well, you know, Bob Jepson's got a great antique car collection. He's with a lot of old Fords, Model A's, Model T's. And I said, gosh, I wonder if he wants to sell us a couple of those nice cars. A beautiful, beautiful collection. And then I thought, well, Kreitz, why would he be coming along? He's got a car collection, too, out there on Stevenson Avenue, but he knows I wouldn't be interested in any of those. So at any rate, I am most grateful for this honor. I'm not sure I deserve it, but I humbly accept it, and I thank the board and the staff of Junior Achievement for this recognition, and for whatever successes that I may have achieved in business and community service. I owe a debt of gratitude to a lot of other people, some of whom I'll mention here. First of all is my father, who was my role model and mentor since early childhood. He was I would say, my best business professor, too. My mother, who unfortunately couldn't be with us here tonight, how she somehow survived raising 6 unruly children. Well, Scott, you probably wouldn't be unruly, but the rest of us were. So I would like to thank the late Judge Jack Sawyer, who insisted that I practice law with him for a while. I kind of wanted to go into business, and he said, no, you need to come practice law. So he gave me my first job out of law school practicing law. I'd like to thank all my family who allowed me to work in the family business and practice law, and still find time to spend a little time serving some nonprofit organizations. I thank my law clients, my business associates, and employees of our family businesses, and the staff members of all the nonprofits I've worked with over the years, all of whom taught me a great deal about many things. I'd like to thank my wife, Carol, and our 3 kids, only one of whom, Kurt, is here tonight. Unfortunately, the other 2 couldn't be here. They've been relatively low maintenance over the years, I would say, and not too demanding of their pop, and allowed me to spend a great deal of time away from home. I'd also thank my former believers at First Baptist Church who helped try to keep me on the straight and narrow, but maybe not always with success. By the way, all those trips to Cuba were mission trips, and so I've been accused of going to Cuba for the cigars, which that's not true. I go down there for the rum. So, and then there's Craig Harney. You know, Craig would walk around with that big camera and stick it in my face, following me around at the racetrack over here on the island and coming to the house and asking me all these nosy questions. And he was relentless. He must work 24/7. So, but Craig, seriously, you did a great job. And wherever you are, I wish we'd gotten you when we were back in the television business, but I guess we missed our chance. Lastly, I thank the Jonathan Barrett, Allison Mull, Junior Achievement for all their hard work, and more importantly for what they do for the youth around here. So, and I'd like to congratulate my good friends Linda and Michael Zoller for their well-deserved recognition tonight. I served on a number of boards with Linda, and Michael was one of my daughter's best clinical instructors in medical school here recently. So I thank you both for that. So that's it for the warm-up act. The main attraction follows. Thank you all very much.